Hello Black Eagles, welcome back to the Black Eagles podcast. Today we are previewing our upcoming European clash with Lausanne-Sport from Switzerland. And on Thursday we are away at 8:15 Central European time. And then of course next week Thursday we will host the Swiss at the Tupper Stadium. And joining me today isn't Oliver Zessiger, who has been a recurring guest on our show for many years, but unfortunately he couldn't be here because, of course, a very busy period for anyone in his function in the transfer period. But we have found you another expert guest to analyze our upcoming opponents, Robin Carrel, Swiss football journalist and, of course, also a resident of Lausanne. And Robin, thank you very much for joining us today and giving us your insights on Lausanne-Sport.
Thanks to you. I used to play for Lausanne-Sport when I was like 5 years old, but after that they were way too strong for me, so I became journalist.
That's
what
awesome.
we do.
That's amazing. Still, I mean, you got to taste it at least, and I assume you've always been a fan of the club and followed them for a long time as well.
We had difficult periods, kind of different presidents, so that's how love works. Sometimes it's stronger, sometimes it's a little lighter, but no, Lausanne is a really good period, and we enjoy a lot having Europe back in our city. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's almost, you're not gonna like this, but it sounds a little bit like your neighbors in Geneva of Servette, who had a similar tumultuous history with relegations and bankruptcies and also down periods, but then also recent great periods in Europe and stuff like that. It seems like that's a recurring theme in Swiss football, where really big clubs go through really difficult periods. And of course, we've seen that in Germany as well with Dortmund. But of course, right now, a great period for Lausanne. They're in Europe, they're in the Conference League now. They did fantastic in the previous round against Astana. When we were looking at our upcoming opponents, if we got past St. Patrick's, which of course we were very hopeful of doing, and we saw Astana and we saw Lausanne, it was, that's a difficult one probably for both of them. Honestly, Astana too. And then if you see how easily Lausanne made quick work of them, 5-1 on aggregate, won both legs, home and away. Very impressive. How do you expect Lausanne to shape up against Beşiktaş in these qualifiers?
I'm pretty sure you saw the really good side of Lausanne in Conference League, because Lausanne struggled a lot this weekend, yesterday against Vevey, third division in Swiss Cup. It was really difficult on a quite not good pitch, and it's always like that in Cup, But they managed to win 2-1. That's good for the head, but Lausanne is a really, really short team. Coach Peter Zeidler mandatory to make play a lot of regular players just for the cup. So they are already a little tired because they came back from Kazakhstan on Friday morning at 7 p.m. and then you play 2 days ago, and then you play again against Beşiktaş. Luckily, Lausanne will not play against Lugano in a Super League between the clash with Beşiktaş, so the coach was really relieved to have 1 weekend and 1 week between the two games to be able to make some player some rest, because it's a busy summer, and really Lausanne is waiting for like a miracle against Beşiktaş to strengthen the team, to have some more players if they have the money from the Conference League, because for us 3 million euro is a lot. I know for you guys it's like one salary for one player, so it's quite difficult. So busy summer, and hope Lausanne will show his best side, the side they show in Europe since the start of the season.
And it's interesting that you mentioned the pitch in the cup game there, because last season, of course, and the season before as well, Beşiktaş played against Lugano, the team that, as you mentioned, Lausanne were supposed to face on the weekend after our game. But you guys are, well, Lausanne are getting a pass by the Swiss FA, and so are Beşiktaş. They are not playing their game against Konyaspor, so both teams will be able to fully prepare for that second leg without any distractions in between. Beşiktaş also struggled last night, got a very late winner in the league game opener against Eyüpspor in the 96th minute. So both teams struggled on the weekend, we could say. But in terms of the pitch, of course, last season we played Lugano, season before as well, and we played on artificial turf. That is something that we've noticed the team struggles with a little bit. We played against Bodo Glimt as well in the last couple of seasons, and they play on artificial turf. What kind of pitch do Lausanne have? Do they also play on artificial turf, or is it normal grass or a hybrid sort?
No, it's an horrible artificial pitch. No, last generation, no problem. It's perfectly playable, but still, for me, it's not football, and for a lot of people, it's not real football on artificial pitch. I remember when Pep Guardiola came to Bern to play the young boys, and Manchester United came as well in Bern to play on artificial pitch. We are one of the last country to allow that, and it's really horrible. It's something you have to train 3 or 4 days before the clash to get used to that pitch, because it's kind of a different sport. So we have the chance to have all our training on artificial pitch. So we used to do that, and it can make a slight difference when you are not ready to play on that kind of pitch. You can be surprised at the start, and it's complicated for articulation. It's complicated for muscles. It's complicated to play. So I hope your coach will have some training on artificial pitch, because it's really different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the coach Ole Gunnar Solskjaer did mention that the players would get a couple of days off now, because the preparation for the season has been very intense. It was a very intense camp in Austria, very physically demanding, and of course with these European matches early in the season as well. So he said yesterday in the press conference that the players will get a couple of days, probably 2 days or so, to rest up, and then of course they will go and prepare for the game against Lausanne on Thursday. The artificial pitch thing, I understand where you're coming from, and it's something that coaches, like you mentioned, Pep Guardiola, they're not a big fan of. It also, a lot of people say that it can induce injuries and stuff like that. But on the other hand of the spectrum, in Turkey, for example, we have the issue that a lot of the smaller clubs, and even sometimes the big clubs, have really poor pitch conditions. And they have, of course, normal grass, or Beşiktaş have a hybrid between grass and artificial, so that's more durable. But we've seen many games against certain clubs where the pitch is just horrible. And then I think in that situation, it does become more interesting for artificial pitches, because it's easier to maintain, right? And if clubs can't properly maintain a grass mat, then maybe they should be forced to get an artificial pitch. In Belgium, we have, I believe, one club still that plays on artificial pitch, Sint-Truiden. They've been playing on that for a long time, and that's always given them a bit of a home advantage. So do you think that this is going to be a big advantage for Lausanne, the fact that the first game is on an artificial turf and at home for them? Do you think that's going to be the key for them to winning this tie, perhaps?
Not a big advantage, but I'm used to play on that pitch, and it will be. I think it will be rainy, and it's really fast. It's really for technical players. So I assume that Beşiktaş has technical players way stronger than Lausanne. So in a few minutes they will use to these kind of conditions, and it will be more. And if it's rainy, it will be more at Beşiktaş advantage, I guess, because it will be fast. It will be tricky, and if you have some real grass and you have a lot of rain, that can advantage a small team. But it will be very fast. You will use to go fast forward with you guys, and I'm pretty sure it's not a big difference. But it can be a surprise at the start if you don't train 2 or 3 times. I'm pretty sure Beşiktaş will train 1 time the day before the game on the pitch, so they can see everything. Not a big advantage, but Lausanne will try to make the surprise in the start of the game because of that. But after a few minutes, it will be okay.
Okay, and of course, like I mentioned, Beşiktaş did play against Lugano last season, the season before, and despite the fact that the aggregate scoreline ended up being quite big, I think it ended 8-4, but in the first leg, Beşiktaş were 3-1 up, and Lugano came back to 3-3. They played some really neat combination football. Beşiktaş defending didn't look too great either, but I have to say the defending hasn't looked too great in the beginning of the season now either. So, Lugano, despite the fact that I think we won the return like 5-1, I thought it was a pretty intense match up, especially the first game, but also in the second game. The first half was not easy, and ultimately the score line would make you think that okay, it was an easy win for Beşiktaş, but it wasn't easy. And last season we also saw Galatasaray get eliminated by Young Boys, who had made a terrible start to the season. I think they were bottom in the Swiss Super League at the time when they faced each other, and of course they went on to finish bottom in the Champions League stages, but they did eliminate the champions of Turkey, who have won 3 straight championships now. So it's not a given that a Swiss opponent is going to be a walk in the park for a Turkish opponent by any stretch of the imagination. Of course, both countries have plenty of history together as well at the national team level. Back in 2005, there was a big incident with the qualifications, if you remember. So it's always a heated battle between Swiss and Turkish teams. Lausanne will definitely not be pushovers. Let's get into what type of a team they are, because their coach, Peter Zeidler, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, the German coach, 62 years old, I believe. What type of football does he have his team play? Because you mentioned that it might be an advantage for Beşiktaş if it's raining and the game goes quickly. Of course, we know a little bit about Alvin Sanchez, who is unfortunately out injured because Beşiktaş were interested in him last season. He had some impressive statistics last season with a lot of goal contributions, both goals and assists. So can we expect a technical team from Lausanne? Are they more a power play team? What type of football do they play, and what style really could you describe them as?
Peter Zeidler is just a new coach in Lausanne, and his reputation is for total football. And you will see it's quite impressive with a very, very, very young team. He's trying to press, he's trying to push, he's trying to always have the ball to go forward. So it can be a little spectacular, but it will be complicated because Beşiktaş know what to do with the ball. So he will never change his mind. He did it for 6 years in St. Gallen. He tried to implement it in Bochum last year. He was fired after a few games, but he is starting to put in place what he's doing. Kind of the same what we have done with Ludovic Magna, former coach. A lot of pressing. They will run everywhere during 90 minutes, and that's the point with these guys, with this new coach. You can lose 3-2 at home, you can win 5-1 away. It's always cool to see. You enjoy the football, you can lose the game, but you will enjoy your time in the stadium. So that's really what I love with this guy. He's very, very cool to interview as well. He's speaking football like he did, like you can do with your friend in a bar. So it's really, really cool guy, and I enjoy a lot of the time he's already having in Lausanne, and I am pretty sure it will be for a long time, because you can go to war with this kind of guy. He's a really, really nice coach and a beautiful person.
Well, this sounds also reminiscent, I would say, about Lugano, because they also had a really good coach with Croci Torti. I think really that was the key last season, why Lugano, and the season before, of course, why Lugano were able to make it so difficult for Beşiktaş. A really good tactical setup. And you do mention that, okay, Beşiktaş will be able to play with the ball and know how to handle this, but, I have seen in the past, I think, very often the difference between, with all due respect, somewhat smaller sides and the big Turkish clubs is usually tactically the smaller sides are superior. So we'll have to wait and see how that shapes out. Of course, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is a tactically sound coach, but it will be interesting. So let's talk a little bit about those key players then, because of course Alvin Sanchez out injured for a long time with an ACL injury, I believe. And then Noé Ducen, one of their most experienced players, central defender, in his 30s. You mentioned it's a very young team. They have a couple of experienced players like Cardoso, I believe. Am I pronouncing it? Oh, Cardoso? The number 10.
No. It's Custodio.
Custodio, sorry, yes. So Custodio and of course Ducen. But Ducen, you mentioned off air, is apparently in Belgium right now for a medical with the different clubs. So that's a big loss, perhaps. How big of a loss will that be to lose one of their more experienced players? Because, like you said, they're a very young team.
Yeah, it's terrible because Noé Ducen was the guy, the good guy in the back. Was the first player to make the first pass every time in a tactical. I don't remember the word. Sorry. Tactically, he was the guy who made the first pass from the back. So try to replace him. It's not possible. We will have to make something different. But this summer we took Brian Oko, who was a former Lausanne junior 6 years ago. He went to Austria to play for Red Bull Salzburg, but play a lot for Liefering in second division. But he's the guy. He only play like 6 games since he's back, but he is the boss. He's really, really good. Like you mentioned with Custodio, with the spirit of the team in the middle, and the discovery of the season, the main guy in front is Gausu Diakite, who's coming in loan also from Salzburg, and is like incredible. In a few season, you see this guy in a big German team or somewhere in England, because we love ski in Switzerland. Is the guy who can make a slalom in the opposite defense. Yesterday he scored a goal. He dribbled like 3 guys, then the goalkeeper, then come back to dribble against the goalkeeper. Is phenomenal. He has to learn how to be more simple in his game, but he's really incredible. But that's the problem. He's only 19. In the front, we have Lequeri was number 10. Is 21. Number 9, we have Kalisen. Is injured. Perhaps he will be back for Thursday, but he's 24, and that's like the older guy in front. In defense, we have 28 left back. Is like the oldest of the team now, or central defender are 22 and 24. Now that's terrible. We have a lack of experience, but experience is expensive, and that's the problem with Lausanne. We are Ineos affiliated, and like OGC Nice in France, Ineos did not put a lot of money. They covered the loss, but all the fresh money is going in a big transfers in Manchester United. So we are making with what we can do, and it's like very complicated. That's why I told you we expect a miracle against Beşiktaş to have the 3 million for the qualification, because 3 million can be 3 or 4 good players for us.
And can you tell us a little bit more about the backstory about the ownership of Lausanne? Because that sounds interesting.
It's like a lot of clubs now, multi-owner property. We were the first football team bought by Ineos, the petrochemical company from the United Kingdom, because they had headquarters in Gland near Lausanne, and so to be like a little bit more popular and to be able to get a financial advantage in the area. They helped the ice hockey team, and after a few years, they bought the club. And then after a few years, they bought OGC Nice in France, and then they bought, like Manchester United, a small share of Manchester United, and they don't work a lot with Manchester or Jessenis. They just share the knowledge about some players. But Manchester United loaned us this year Kanabik, an incredible future good player, but he's injured for 2 weeks still, I guess. But we don't have a lot of exchange between the two teams. It's like two different universe between Manchester United and Lausanne-Sport. That's kind of not the same sport. And some young players from Manchester came a few weeks in Lausanne to train, to watch something different. But our junior player was way better than the players they sent to us. So it's quite difficult because, with what happened now in the world, Ineos has not a lot of money. They don't pay the advertising on the All Blacks rugby team. Uh, they avoid their investment in a sailing team in the UK. They had they bought the powerful cycling team, Team Sky, a few years ago with Bradley Wiggins, with Chris Froome, and yet they struggle in cycling as well. So they don't have a lot of fresh money, and Lausanne will be the last place they will invest those months. But they still cover the money Lausanne lose, but that's everything they can do for us.
Okay, that's interesting. I didn't know that. So there's a Manchester United connection at both clubs right now. Then with the coach at Beşiktaş, of course, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and then Lausanne with the ownership with Ineos. So yeah, that all sounds very interesting. We of course played St. Patrick's in the previous two games in the Conference League, and for them, this really was like one of the biggest games in at least modern history, I believe. How big is this match for Lausanne? Not just from a financial perspective, but also from the opponent's perspective. I'm not too familiar with Lausanne's recent European history, so I don't know what kind of opponents they faced in the last, 5 years or so. But how big of a match is this for them?
So I talk about that with some friends, Lausanne-Sport fan, and I'm pretty sure it's like the biggest game for us since a quarter of century, because last time we qualified for Europe, it was Europa League in 15 years ago, but we were in second division. We played in CSKA Moscow, we played in Sparta Prague, we played in Palermo, but Beşiktaş, for me and for a lot of fans, it's just higher than those three teams. So last time we had such an opponent, start of the century, we played Ajax Amsterdam, we played FC Nantes in France, and that's it. We know bankruptcy. We were relegated quite a few times. We were just in the first division, but just trying to avoid relegation. So what we have done last year with a semi-final in Cup, lost in Basel in overtime, it was just like a dream, something we never seen since a long period. So really, 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 the Thursday game in La Tuilière in Lausanne will be the biggest here since 20 years, at least.
And Lausanne, of course, are taking precautions for the attendance, which is completely completely normal. I think you don't want a bunch of away fans in your home section, so they are taking some precautions because of that. But will that maybe hamper their ability to fill the stadium, you think, or is it still going to be an easy sellout for them?
No, we made more than 9,000 people the two first rounds. Was for Lausanne, it's really great. And Beşiktaş is like it will be like the place to be. We have a crowd who's really I don't know the word in English, but when something is happening, just like one time in per year, or like a big concert, like Tour de France is coming, we knew that with ice hockey last 2 seasons we played the Swiss Champions League championship final in ice hockey, and it was like 30,000 people who trained to get tickets. So this game is the place to be for people in the Lausanne area who wants to be where something big is happening. So it will be no problem, I guess, to fill the stadium. Sometimes in a Super League, in Championship, we let people from Basel or from Zurich having like all one back of the net tribune, because they are 1,500. But with Besiktas, we will let for you guys just the regular place, and we will fill, I hope, without problems, the rest of the stadium. It will be only 12,000 people,
Hmm.
but it will be like a good crowd. You can be surprised. It will not be like in your stadium, because it's like another dimension. But it will be cool, and I can't wait to see that and to live that in Lausanne, because it's really rare for us.
That sounds like it's going to be a momentous occasion. Maybe that's the word you were looking for, and really
Yeah, exactly.
maybe one of the nights of the year where everyone locally will try to be part of it, and it could be a historical moment, of course, for Lausanne. Hopefully for Beşiktaş that will not be the case, but I think as well, we played, like I said, St. Patrick's last round, and there's still a big difference, I think, between St. Patrick's and Lausanne.
I hope
But
for us, yeah.
I but also I think for them, despite the fact that they ended up losing the tie, I think it was still a really special moment. I spoke to some of the Irish fans that made the trip to Istanbul. They really were in a delirium for 40 minutes when they were 2-0 up. It was a crazy moment for them, and even despite the fact that they ended up losing the match and losing the tie, I still think it will be memories for them for a very long time. And of course, like we talked about as well, last season we had the 3-3 game in Lugano. Well, in Switzerland, it wasn't in Lugano, I believe. It was played in Zurich.
In Thun,
Um,
in Thun, or in Zurich, or in Thun.
in Thun, yes, you're right. It was in Thun.
Yeah.
So, I mean, a 3-3 was also a great result, I think, at the time. Now, of course, I think for Beşiktaş, the mission is don't lose in Switzerland. Don't lose there. Get at least a draw. And then, of course, at home, try and finish the job, which is not always a given because, of course, 2 seasons ago Lugano came and won in our stadium, so it's definitely not impossible. Yeah, and it's going to be a very interesting clash. I think a very important game for both clubs in different ways. I think for Beşiktaş, it's important because it will avoid a chaotic situation within the club. It will avoid a very toxic situation, I think. So not qualifying is not an option. And of course for Lausanne, it's a massive sportive accomplishment if they can get past us, and financially it's also massive for them. So for both clubs, there's so much on the line. So it will be a heated battle, no doubt. With that taken into consideration, do you think it will be hostile for the Beşiktaş fans who decide to travel on Thursday? Are they going to be able to, during the day before the game, maybe explore the city, do some sightseeing, and all that kind of stuff, or are they going to have to be careful?
So please come. Please discover our city. I'm not impartial, but I'm still believing it's one of the beautiful city in the world. So come to see our lake. Come to see the mountains. They are not that far from us. You can take the boat during the day. You can have a meal in terrace and drink some beers in the evening. You can talk to people who will give you advice, who will be happy to see some football fans. So really, there will be absolutely no problem. Everybody will be really happy to see some people. We used to have a lot of tourists, but the only problem you can have is if you start speaking from Servet. That's all.
Okay, Beşiktaş fans, if you decide to go make the trip on Thursday, do not mention Servet, and you will be fine. So, what can you recommend locally then if people do decide to go and maybe they make a little city trip out of it and go 2 days beforehand or a day beforehand? What is there in Lausanne that people need to have seen? Are there things that they need to try in terms of local cuisine or maybe a local brew or something like that?
The mandatory tour is the Olympic Museum. That's something local have forgotten to do, but it's incredible to see this museum. It's near the lake, it's wonderful, and you can review the entire history of Olympic Games, and there is a lot of artifacts from a long time ago. Now that's something you have to do. And then you go to La Cité, with the oldest place in Lausanne. You have small streets, you have quite good restaurants, very good bars. So you can wander into in the area of the cathedral, and it's wonderful. And you will be able to have a great night, a good meal, and after party, because we are well known also to party late in the night.
The après-ski. Oh,
Après football, yeah.
après football, après ski. Thank you very much, Robin, Carrel, for your time, of course, and your insights.
Thank you.
Where can people find you on social media? And one last question, perhaps: are you planning on making the trip next week to Istanbul to watch the away game?
Unfortunately not. We have the mountain bike world championship in a few days in Wallis in Switzerland, so I will not be able. But I will go in a bar that I mentioned a few minutes ago, and I will see the match here. And hope I will have my ears again, because I know it's complicated for some Swiss player when they went to Beşiktaş. They had problem to hear some people for a few days after the game. So. Can't wait to see that, and good luck to you guys, but not too much.
Of course, of course. And where can people find you on social media, Robin, if they want to chat with you or maybe see what your coverage of the game or anything else Swiss sports related?
Yeah. You go on X, on my Twitter account, just at and my name, and you can come to ask what you want. And if you want good addresses for Wednesday night, I can find you for that.
All right. Thank you very much, Robin, Carrel. And of course, thank you all for watching the Black Eagles podcast again. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you can be notified of any future uploads and live streams. And let's go Beşiktaş, of course, on Thursday, but also Lausanne, all the best of luck, but not too much, like you mentioned, Robin. And thank you for watching. Don't forget to check out patreon.com/Beşiktaş podcast or hit the join button on YouTube if you want to support the podcast in other means other than giving us your precious watch time. Thank you. Bye-bye.